All right. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 76 of the Change My Mind podcast, part of the hashtag Dork Gooniverse and Geeks Worldwide Radio. I am Wesley Sykes, and through the other side of the ether is the Green Goblin to my Doc Ock, Mr. Nick Fryer. Nick,
I like that.
You like that, right? It's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
A little intro question here as we jump into things. What are some things considered trashy if you're poor and classy if you're rich? How about that?
I would say the first thing that comes to mind is living in a hotel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess it would be more like a motel thing at that point, right?
Either way, but yeah, like you got the Flora Project, then you got the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Right. Yeah, there we go. That's a nice reference for you.
How about having a lawyer's business card in your wallet or purse?
Oh, okay. But, I think middle-class people could have that as well,
Right, but you're talking about rich versus poor. And if you're poor and you have that, yeah, exactly.
How about sleeping outside? Some people do that for recreation, and then if you're poor, you're probably doing that out of necessity.
Yeah, I agree.
I have this chair that just sinks on me all the time. I feel like I'm just slowly lowering into the ground here. How about eating exotic meats? This is kind of rich. But maybe if you're having some finely cut toro, some nice fin, maybe. If you're rich, but maybe you're eating rats if you're poor.
Right. Yeah, I think that's.
You got that.
How about being really into wine? If you're, if you're rich, then it's like, high class, and then if you're poor, it's like you got a problem, and you're probably getting cheap wine.
Right, or it might be grain alcohol at that point. How about having multiple cars on your property? You maybe you store them in your garage if you're rich. Maybe they're on your front yard if you're poor. This is an actual comedy bit. Like I didn't get like this idea of like I forget who it is. Maybe it's Adam Carolla.
Okay,
it's a really interesting bit. That smoking is another one. If rich people do it, it looks like a cigar or something. But like maybe like Newport 100s if you're poor.
How about keeping a bottle of liquor in your office? Yeah.
Well, if you have an office, right? I mean, geez.
But if you're working at a place that's just like a small time whatever, like I don't know, like you work at a rental car place, fine, respect it and everything, but you're not obviously loaded if you have an office there, and if you keep a flask there, probably looks a little weird. Whereas if you go and if you're this like gaudy, ridiculous sports agent, right, and you have all these kinds of liquor in your office, then you look kind of like high class.
Okay, all right, I can see that. How about just generally speaking, the state of Florida?
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I shit on Florida all the time, but there are some people down there who, are.
Well, you have Palm Beach, you have Miami, then you also have Tallahassee and Jacksonville, right? So it's just kind of running the whole spectrum there.
Right.
And my last one, if I may, going to a racetrack.
Oh,
kind of interesting, right? Maybe you go and play the ponies for the big Triple Crown events. You get dressed up, throw on a suit, maybe a hat, maybe have a mint julep, or otherwise you're going paycheck to paycheck trying to win on the dog tracks down in Suffolk Downs.
Right. Yeah, that's a good call.
Interesting. That's a fun one. I would be interested to see what some people in the Dork Universe have to say about that. But this week, we're going to be getting back to our roots. Some may say. I would say. I don't know if Nick would. I don't want to speak for him. But we're going to be hosting a good old-fashioned debate. And that's maybe an ongoing idea in the future that we may expound upon, where we talk about a movie series and which one was better, which installment was better. The first one, the sequel, the third, whatever the case may be. So today we're going to be looking at Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 and 2, the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire.
Yes, sir.
And again, this could lend itself down the road for a lot of different debates here. I mean, what first comes to mind is the Chris Nolan Batmans.
Right.
You have Back to the Future 1 and 2. Maybe you have the Jurassic World series. A lot of different options.
Yeah, there's a lot. Look, there are a lot of debates we haven't gotten into, but with this, I'm very excited for this because as much as there's the old like who's the better Spider-Man, that's an argument we could have sometime. And as much as we could still do the rewatch vault for these movies too, this does not remove them entirely from it or at all, I should say, from it.
No, not at all.
This is a discussion I feel like pops up from time to time when you're talking like I know where you stand in this argument. And I know where a lot of people stand, and they're generally with you. We'll get into that more later, but I think that there are, ever since pretty much Godfather, right, where we saw,
Sure.
obviously number 2 out. I know. Well, sorry, you haven't
Star
seen
Wars,
them.
Empire, right?
Exactly. So those movies changed the game a little bit, and there are there's actually a decent amount of these debates that we could have, I think, in the course of all this. But
Mighty
for another
Ducks
day.
1 and 2, Rush Hour 1 and 2. Rush Hour 2 is probably one of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion. So it's all on the table.
I think this one's one of the bigger ones, though. In my mind, I don't know if it is for most people, but in my heart, it is. As much as I'm not a Spider-Man guy like you, but we'll get into that more later, right?
I don't know, how heartfelt of a guy you are, so that means that it means something to your heart. But first, Nick, let's trend, shall we?
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like a plan to me. So, The Boys season 3, we found out last week that's coming out. Wes and I have not watched a second of this show.
Which is why I was interested why you put this on at the very top of our trending now.
Well, I mean, when I was on the news dump with Mac while I was filling in for Goo because he had a kid, congrats. What?
You looked great.
Oh, thank you very much. They're making fun of me for looking like a knife salesman. I thought I was like a pro. Whatever. Yeah. Sorry, I was taking it seriously. Anyways, yeah, exactly. Cue the music. Yeah. They're big on The Boys. I know #Dork is big on The Boys. I'm sure. Actually, Rossi probably hates The Boys, but I'm sure Backcracker and Billy D like it. We will watch it, I think, at some point. I got to get it Amazon Prime. I'm reading
for me, but I'll make an attempt. I don't want to make any promises to the crowd just yet.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I'm reading the omnibus right now, and I think I'm 5 issues in. I started digging in a little bit more this weekend, but I'm excited about it. I have 6 weeks, I think, 5 weeks at the time we're recording this before season 2 comes out, but from what I'm seeing so far, Wes, I can get why everybody's excited about it just from reading those 5 issues alone. So that'll be out. Season 3, great sign, obviously. As much as I haven't watched it yet, I'm very excited.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lick of this show, so season 3, good for them. It looks like I have some work cut out to me. Thanks, Nick, for putting this on my plate here. Really, really looking forward to that.
Speaking of cuts.
Oh, wow. Would you look at that? Nice segues. I love it. The Snyder Cut would not feature any of Joss Whedon's footage. So he did not appear at the Comic-Con at home, which was really a disappointment, I would say, overall. The Comic-Con didn't really get a whole lot of things that I was interested in as far as news goes. But he had his own Justice Con. I don't know. Is that a thing?
No, it is.
But he said that he had some choice words, if you may. Now, I'm going to be speaking as Zack Snyder here, so please forgive my curse language here.
Okay.
I quote, "I will destroy the movie. I would set it on fire before I use a single frame that I did not photograph. That is a fucking hard fact.
Ooh.
I would literally blow that fucking thing up." Zack Snyder on using any of Joss Whedon's footage from the Snyder Cut of the Justice League movie.
I don't feel comfortable using that kind of language, Wes. I don't care.
Very aggressive. Very aggressive.
You think?
That was my interpretation of it, but I imagine that's how it was. I didn't see the clip live.
Oh, you can. Yeah, you're probably right, and that's why his fans, they can get a little nuts because he feeds into it. They get a little edgy, and then it's like, boom,
Listen, I'm just so torn on this whole thing. Like at first, I was kind of like, yeah, this is cool, like fan crowdsourcing things to get things done and stuff. And like, when does ever like a petition actually work?
Right.
You feel like you sign those things, they just kind of go off. But this was an instance where it did work, so I thought that was kind of cool. But I also felt like it was like people kowtowing to the masses, and just like if you complain enough and you stamp your feet and say, I didn't get my way if I'm Zack Snyder,
Zack Snyder.
Into it. Yeah, that's that's a South Park thing, right?
Yeah. Rob Schneider.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But I feel like now as we hear like more and more drama unfold, like I just start to think that we're just kowtowing to like people who are stamping their feet.
Huh. It sounds like that was it sounds similar to what I was saying at first, because I'm pretty sure you were like, oh, give the people what they want.
I know, but now as they continue to do like these victory laps, and like I'm kind of like, all right, you got what you wanted. Now, like you have to kind of pimp this home run out a little bit more. Yeah, you have to. Who's it? Not Tony Batista. Who's Jose Batista?
Jose Batista.
You got a bat ding there on the walk off.
Yes. If you want home runs, go watch Davey's Twitch stream. You don't need any more of this pimp job from the Snyder Cut people. It's annoying, Wes, but I will still watch it no matter what. and I'm sure you will too. And guess what? If it sucks, if it was totally overblown, we usually do better when we have things that turn out to be shitty. That's usually good for us.
And I agree. And I'm kind of rooting for this to suck right now. Like the big reveal of like the big takeaway from the Comic-Con was like what, like, or maybe it was this Justice Con thing of Henry Cavill in the black Superman suit. Like, is that really such? One, we've already seen renderings of that, right? Like that's not really like a big clip. And two, like anyone like Boss Logic or anyone with like a Photoshop app can, take a Superman suit and then put black over it and make it look, it's like, it's not that cool.
Yeah, and Boss Logic will make it look a million times cooler anyways. All those other graphic designers.
You see his stuff that he did for like the Secret Wars campaign? I don't know if you've seen that on his Instagram, but he
I didn't see that one.
Renderings of movie posters for Secret Wars.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously just like fan-driven stuff. Nothing like driven off the news. But it's pretty cool.
But he does work with Marvel. So he could be like teasing, like putting things out there to kind of see how people react, or maybe to get people thinking about it.
Now that I think about it, I think it stemmed from like a Russo brothers interview saying that they took on ultimately the Avengers Infinity Saga with the ultimate goal of doing Secret Wars, that it all kind of built up to it, and that they would be open to maybe returning to that idea if and when they would get back to it. But that's like 5 or 10 years away. They have so much building to do. It's
true, but still, for those who like, Boss Logic's cool and everything, and he's very talented, but he's not a newsbreaker. But don't take for what he does. Don't just take that as, like, for all the listeners out there, don't just take it as, oh, he's just in the mood for that or whatever. Like if something random seems to pop up on his thread, I think that there's a reasoning behind the art that he does at times. So don't take it with just a grain of salt. Look at it a little bit deeper and see what it might mean. But
maybe he's just spreading the good word and hiding it in code, like our good friend John the Apostle.
Yeah, maybe he's doing that.
Ever think about that one? Chew on that for a minute.
Boss Logic is his new prophet or whatever.
Yeah, it could be. Who am I?
Speaking of prophets, the prophet of the toy industry, Todd Mcfarlane.
Not your best.
All right, I tried. Anyways, he dished out some new stuff because he had McFarlane Con. And you bring up the issues with the cons and everything, Wes. This is where my transition should have been. Like you have the Justice Con, you have DC Fandom. I think Disney has their own thing too, right? And now Todd McFarlane did it. I get that these businesses want to do their own thing, and that's kind of cool. But the idea of these other big cons, now you want to just take away from them completely? You want to hurt New York Comic-Con and San Diego Comic-Con when they've been awesome for so long? I don't get what the issue is. Why do you feel it's kind of like when athletes do stuff with the Players Tribune or guys start their own media companies? You need to control the narrative that much. And in this case, it makes even less sense to me with San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con, where it's all just fun and all fans, and we just, you know what I mean? It seems a little strange, but
I think what he has to really look out for is all the fake news in the comic book world. It's running rampant these days. I can't discern from what's real and what's fake. Who knows?
Yep.
It's truly crazy times that we're living in here. So I don't fault McFarlane at all for that.
Well, he's doing toy stuff though.
I know that was kind of the joke.
Okay, good. Well, our guy Casey Walsh from Geeks Worldwide is out there fighting the good fight when it comes to all that stuff. But anyways, McFarlane came out with new toys. Go check out his Instagram or their the toys Instagram page, the toy company's Instagram page. You got Flashpoint Batman, Arkham Batman, and Deathstroke. You got Red Death, and the other DC Metal Batman. I know our guy Eddie's Toy Box is going to want to get the Red Death one, and that one looks sick. If you're a Flash fan, that's definitely a go-to for you guys because it comes with a Flash too. And then there's a Red Hood Nightwing pack that's coming out too. I'm going to have to get it, Wes. I already have the Red Hood DC Collectibles. It doesn't look too much different, but I'm still going to need to get it. And that Flashpoint Batman too. Shit looks sick.
Yeah, I love the toys. We're talking the boys and toys here on the trending now. So that's great. I think that's pretty interesting. I did see the Red Hood toy though. I think that was shared. I don't know if you shared that on your Twitter or anything, but that does look pretty cool. Despite me being a 33-year-old male adult, so there's that.
There's a good portion of the Dork Shared Gooniverse that collects toys in some capacity, whether it be pops or action figures or whatever. Obviously, I got some behind me.
Yes, it's true. Yes, that's what are we gonna do?
No shame on my end.
No, not that there should be. Anyway, so according to Geeks Worldwide's Casey Walsh, the aforementioned Casey Walsh,
Oh.
and the Illuminerd, so nice little co-credit on that. Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige are in the early stages of developing wait for it, Illuminati project. So the Illuminati, is comprised of Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, Iron Man, Namor, Professor X, Black Bolt, and others. Is Black Panther involved? Some other people I think are kind of get recruited later on into it. And they, of course, were first introduced in the Brian Michael Bendis 2005 comic, Illuminati.
I think this, I like this idea a lot. I don't know what you're going to do with Iron Man in all of it, unless you're going to take a break and then you're going to try and bring Tony Stark back as somehow, because, you can do that with comics, I guess. If you're going to be dealing with other realities, maybe you can do something there too. But I'm not a Reed Richards guy, that. But in general, I think this is a great idea. And then you can deal with a lot of corruption with this.
Just like we were talking about the Secret Wars and how great that's going to be, I'm so in on the Illuminati. This was a note that Casey had in his post on Geeks Worldwide, but just saying how it could deal with the dark side or unanticipated results that come with saving the universe. Apparently, that's what they often dealt with, with the Illuminati in the comic book. So I think that's kind of interesting. And again, you have, all of these smartest of the smartest, best of the best, all kind of putting their heads together. I kind of like that idea of getting the A-team and A-team back together. So give me it. I'm all for it.
Okay, nice.
And at this point, I'm ready for anything. I just need something in my life. I need some Marvel. I need some movies. I need some content in my life.
Yeah. I'm all about this. I really am. I think it's a great idea.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. I don't know how, what changes you make in all of it, but if Feige's in charge, I think we're going to be fine.
In Feige we trust, just like Bill Belichick, as we say here in New England.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously, he's earned it. He absolutely has. As much as we'll ask questions along the way. I mean, he's not I still trust him at the end of it all. But before
Quinn doesn't have a better batting average than Kevin Feige right now. I'll just say that,
True, very true.
Yeah.
Just a quick reminder before we go any further, guys. We're on TeePublic now. We're also on Teespring, but in TeePublic we have the old school logo. You have some more options there. We also have the current logo. I remember, speaking of Eddie's Toy Box, he complained to me when we rolled out our merch at first. We didn't have the blue and yellow logo that we now use. Right. That's all there too. I know Wes is going to be getting some tanks at some point, right?
Yeah, I got to show off all the glamour muscles I've been working out in the backyard all summer. So
exactly. So and then there are masks too, of course, and you can get stuff, I believe, from all the hashtag Dork Shared Gooniverse on TeePublic. I'm not sure about Pop Culture Pile Driver, but they need to get on that shit if they haven't already. But Wes got the comic book minute, and we got a couple of big things in here. First, Tom Taylor. Well, yeah, Tom Taylor has teased Injustice 3 on Twitter. He just this guy is the best when it comes to teasing shit. He put out he let everybody know, and then he goes and puts out just the eye, and instantly people are figuring out that that's the Injustice eye. That's the Injustice text. I didn't know at first. I was like, what the frig is this shit?
Now, can I stop you real quick? Mm-hmm. When you say Injustice, is this a comic book or is this the video game that I'm familiar with?
Comic book, which the video game is based off of.
I see. Okay, sorry, yes. I'm a little late here. This is the comic book.
Nope.
2 minutes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the third, I don't know when it's coming next or when it is coming yet, but he teased out the end today, pretty much confirming it's definitely Injustice 3. So we'll see where it goes from there, but we know we're going to be getting that. And honestly, anything Tom Taylor writes is worth reading. The guy's outstanding. He's done the deceased stuff, which, Wes, I know you at least like the concept when it comes to that. You won't read it, but if it was a show, you would probably watch it, I'm sure. Yeah. And actually, newest issue of Suicide Squad, which is written by Tom Taylor, comes out this week, along with Red Hood 47, which I just read. Reviews coming out. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. Leave it at that for now. I'll be reviewing John Constantine Hellblazer as well. You can find those reviews on Geeks Worldwide. And Wes, I know I have a ton of Marvel books listed in front of you right now.
Sure do.
I mean, we got Amazing Spider-Man 45, the Empire event that's ongoing. There's Captain America with that, and then you got Savage Avengers coming with that as well. A lot of Spider-Man stuff coming out this week.
Okay.
And some X-Men as well. X-Factor issue 1. I know people are always looking for first issues. Spawn 308 And then there's another trade from Image Comics involving Spawn coming out, Spawn Vengeance, that's issues 291 to 297. And then we have a Hardcore Volume 2. I haven't read this one. I was late in seeing it come out. Somehow it slipped past me. I read Hardcore 1. I really enjoyed it, so I'm sure this is pretty good.
Okay.
And then we have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 52. I mean, I love the Power Rangers stuff they're putting out. I reviewed, what was it? It was the Ranger Slayer stuff. So I really enjoyed that. And then Bill and Ted Omnibus soft cover. So the trade is coming out.
Keanu Reeves making another comic book edition here. I like this.
Yes, exactly. That's from Boom Studios, and that's like our former guy in the chair, Tim Weisberg, big Bill and Ted guy. So I'm sure he's excited about that. Last bit of news, Wes. So
now this has got me excited. Now you piqued my interest when I saw this on here.
Okay, so as everybody knows, I like to read the comics. Wes, not as much. Occasionally, right?
Yeah.
We did the reviews on Avengers vs. X-Men.
Yeah.
And Civil War, right?
Civil War. I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Yes, when those were made.
I loved them. I was in those. I dove at 100% on those. Now I'm back out. I'm dried out.
Back to normal.
Yeah.
So I obviously, when we do the comic book minute, which always somehow lasts longer than a minute, and I apologize to you for that, Wes, not to the listeners.
That's a running gag, I think, right? It's charm.
Because we don't talk about it as much on here, and in the hashtag Dork Shared Gooniverse, I feel like we probably talk about it the most of anybody. We'll still be doing the comic book minute on here, especially because the time of the week that we come out, let you guys know everything that I know is coming out that week. I'm also going to start doing with Dr. Joe, the Backcracker, on Twitter, and part of the hashtag Dork Shared Gooniverse, a stream show with him talking about comics later on in the week. That will be on his Twitch stream, and it will be on the hashtag Dork Shared Gooniverse page. We're not sure about doing audio format yet, but you'll be able to find that stuff there for sure. That will be the first full week of August. So not after this episode, after episode 77 of Change My Mind.
And I feel like this was developed specifically for me, and not because I suggested the title, which I think is genius, if I do say so myself.
Yes.
But I feel like this is perfect for me because I don't read the comics, and sometimes I think it's a little bit more heavy lifting than it's actually involved. I'd rather someone tell me what happens in the comic books.
Awesome. And that's what we're going to do.
This is me, catered specifically to me. I appreciate that.
Perfect. And we'll probably do a lot more on trades because that's the stuff you guys are going to see coming out, over the next few years and stuff. When it comes to movies, they want completed stories. I'm not going to, like, the stuff I'm reviewing now with Red Hood Outlaw, that's not coming out in a movie. The stuff I'm seeing right now. So we'll touch on that stuff, big news, whatever, but it's kind of going to be what Dr. Joe and I have read or are currently reading that are trades. So obviously Doc is here and he's very excited about all of this. And we're excited to
go. Yes.
TLDR is the name of the show. Wes came up with it. Friggin' brilliant, Wes.
And for those who may not know, that means what exactly?
Too long, didn't read.
Love it. That's fantastic.
It's just perfect for you. It really is. You ready?
So I think we're ready for the main course here. Are you ready? You're the one who's been amping this up like you're gonna like body me in some way.
I am gonna body you. You're screwed. You have no chance. You may come in as the favorite here, but you're not winning.
Confidence will be your downfall, my friend.
I don't think so.
Someone smart said that.
Yeah, okay, sure, fine, whatever. So do you want to tell everybody what we're talking about again?
Yes, so again, we are doing a good old-fashioned debate-off here between two master debaters, between Mr. Nick Fryer and myself, and we will be discussing which was the better installment, Spider-Man 2002's edition, directed by Sam Raimi, or Spider-Man 2 that came out in 2004, the follow-up, also directed by Sam Raimi. Now, some people starring in these films, we have Tobey Maguire, who's playing the titular character of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. We have Kirsten Dunst, who is playing the bombshell, if you will, Miss Mary Jane Watson. We have James Franco in there, who's playing Harry Osborne.
Yep.
We have a couple other people along the way, but I feel like those are like the main characters who kind of appear through the first two installments. Is that correct? Yeah.
Those are the primary characters for sure. And for those wondering too, of course, we have we bring up the Rotten Tomatoes scores occasionally when we're doing this show, but that's not our go-to. We're IMDb guys for sure, especially when I can get the name right. Spider-Man from 2002, the original, the movie that I will be defending today, is ranked a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, whereas Wes's Spider-Man 2, which came out in 2004, is also ranked a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb.
And this is the tail of the tape, if you will. Before we get into the arguments, this is just kind of where we're at. So we're lockstep. We both got a check in our mark here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you mentioned J. Jonah Jameson too, right? He's in both of the movies as well.
He is. Yes, of course. How could I forget? Yes. J.K. Simmons.
Absolutely. Outstanding. Either way, outstanding. We got to give him credit.
Yeah. I mean, win, lose, or draw, he comes out a winner every time. A couple more things on the critic audience reception here. The original Spider-Man on Rotten Tomatoes, I find it convenient that you leave out some of the following statistics on here. Again, another flaw in your argument.
All I care about is IMDb.
The original Spider-Man has a 90 and 67 critic audience split on Rotten Tomatoes, compared to Spider-Man 2's 93 and 82. Ooh, why does it hurt so good, Nick? And how about this? We don't really use this too much, but again, it measures out in my favor, so I'm going to use it. Metacritic. 73 for the original Spider-Man as opposed to Spider-Man 2, which got 83. Now, if my calculations are correct, that is 10 more points higher than the original Spider-Man movie.
Okay, whatever, Wes.
And I got one more thing, unless you have something you'd like to add on Metacritic.
No, go ahead. I'll catch up in a second.
Okay, well, another person who is, his opinion is widely respected in the world of cinema and film, if you will, is Sir Roger Ebert, Mr. Roger Ebert, if you will. And what did he have to say about the 2002 Spider-Man? He gave it 2.5 stars, and he said, quote, "Tobey Maguire is pitch perfect as this." Now, bear with me here. Once again, reading Sir Roger Ebert's words, not my words. Tobey Maguire is the pitch perfect as the socially retarded Peter Parker. Wow.
Oh.
Talk about 2002, what you can't get away with, right? Mm-hmm. But when he becomes Spider-Man, the film turns to action sequences to zip along like perfunctory cartoons. Not even during Spidey's first experimental outings do we feel that flesh and blood are contending with gravity.
Okay.
Wasn't too big of a fan of it.
Got it.
But what did he think of Spider-Man 2? Well, he gave it 4 stars. That's 2 thumbs way up in my estimation. And he said, now this is what a superhero movie should be. It's not campy, and it's not nostalgia, and it's not wall-to-wall special effects, and it's not pickled in angst. It's simply and poignantly a realization that being Spider-Man is a burden that Peter Parker is not entirely willing to bear.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it.
And just as a little caveat, Spider-Man did win 2 MTV Movie Awards in 2002 and won Best Female Performance by Kirsten Dunst. And of course, do you want to guess the other award winner?
Was it Best Kiss?
Damn right it was. Ding, 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 Nick. It was the best kiss for the upside-down kiss in the alleyway during the rain, which must have been a nightmare because imagine having raindrops coming.
You're talking about my Spider-Man.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I got a little confused there. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so what I do is, I mentioned the movie that comes first and then mention the movie that comes afterwards second. That's normally how things go. I know it's tough to keep up.
I got a little lost in your whole argument, Wes, because when we've done shows, for those who don't know, #DorkSharedGooniverse, we had a show, which we will probably bring back at some point called, a bit called Why Rotten Tomatoes Sucks, or Rotten Tomatoes Sucks. I can't remember exactly. It's been so long. So when you, as the first part of your argument, Wes, go and cite Rotten Tomatoes as a valid source for their grading, based on how we've perceived them in the past, it kind of takes away from everything you just said there. So that's why I kind of got lost. So my apologies, but
well, I mean, I would say it's a measurable statistic out there. And again, these are just the tails of the tape. This is not about the argument. This is just getting out there what's out there. These are the
You're
facts.
Presenting facts. Okay, I would just like the jury to understand that Wes is presenting these as facts. Okay, when in reality we've gone out of our way to prove that how they come to these facts is not exactly valid.
Okay. I'm just saying it's what's out there. I'm just showing the people that. So, and then in comparison, Spider-Man 2 won the Teen Choice Award for the Choice Movie of the Summer. So there's that out there. A couple of box office comparisons. This is fun. I think you'll like this. The original Spider-Man hauled in $403.7 million. That's domestically, and $821.7 million worldwide.
Wow.
And that outgrows Spider-Man 2. Short, small amounts, but it was still pretty close. 373 domestically and 789, let's say, worldwide. Definitely lower, which I'm kind of surprised about.
Yeah, so am I.
And Spider-Man, the original in 2002, had like a huge opening weekend. I think it was a record setting at that time with 114 million, compared to Spider-Man 2's 88.1 million. So that's a pretty significant drop off in that. The overall numbers kind of bear out to be like, almost even or so. But that's a big difference, the 88 to 114, I think.
That is a big difference. I mean, that's good to know, but in the end of it all, Wes, it's about how you and I feel about these movies, and then everybody else is going to decide. Of course, it's been years since these came out. I mean, your movie came out 2004, so it's been, 16 years? Can you believe it's been that long since Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, and the original Spider-Man could vote.
Yeah.
18 then, right? 2002.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, jeez, wow, that's crazy.
Time.
So if I may start, is that all right with you? Have we gotten everything out?
One, yeah.
Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go with, you lead with your strongest argument, right? You don't want to bury the lead. When Spider-Man it came out in 2002, there had been two fairly important comic book movies that had come out previously in a 4-year span. Okay, you had Blade in 1998, I believe it was, or was it 1999? Either way, then you had X-Men in 2000. Now, Blade is a little different because it's vampire, so I think it's viewed differently, but still well received. It still doesn't get its fair shake in all this. And then you have X-Men, which was a big deal. I understand some people say it didn't age well, but it was a big step in the right direction, and it was a team movie, so that makes it a little bit more challenging. But we hadn't had the MCU, so it was still received well at that time. Then this comes out.
Yeah.
Total game changer. I mean, and you can't say that about Spider-Man 2. Yeah, maybe there were some things that were maybe it carried the baton in some capacity and moved in the right direction, but this went from X-Men, and this was a huge jump. Everybody loved this movie. You have the outfit, you have the web slinging was outrageous. Seeing him do stuff like that, I mean, it came to life in a way that I never thought it could. I loved.
But did Spider-Man 2 not have any of that?
It did, but
the web slinging, the suits, all that stuff, right? In fact, it probably has more of it.
My movie did it first.
Well, okay, so is it the first?
Your movie doesn't exist. I mean, I'm just saying. You just copied me. That's all that happened.
No, it's a continuation of the same story.
However you want to look at it.
Better. You just get the better story. You don't get the boring introduction of it.
Well,
of Peter Parker going through high school, and you get like a roided out, aged out Joe Magnanello, whatever his name is, being the bully, and it's like all like really campy and hokey and stuff. Now,
hashtag my Flash Thompson. First of all, second, his like figuring out how to use his powers was one of my arguments too. But since you brought it up, I'll get into that now really quickly. That was also like for what we had seen so far. Actually, we'd never seen anything like that. He set the tone for how people like figure out their powers once they get them. And he's a kid too. I know he looks older, but he's a kid still in all this. So he's kind of working through all that shit, and it's very weird. I thought it was well done, where it was kind of goofy. It's Peter Parker. He has a goofiness to him, but he's also smart. He's going to figure that shit out. But Wes, when you talk, going back to my original argument, my first point, when you talk about the most important comic book movies of all time, we're not talking about like social statements. We're talking about like, because I know Black Panther is up there when we see like an almost all black cast. Sure. We're talking about pushing the genre forward and changing the game and allowing comic book movies to become a genre in itself within the action genre. We would say. This is a top 5 movie.
Your top argument is that because it was first, everything that comes after it can't be better than it.
I'm saying it's one of the most influential comic book movies of all time for the genre.
From here on out, for every installment that we do of this, you're just going to take the first movie of everything because, and with that argument, nothing is ever going to top the original. So there's no way that you can build upon something that was already there. Mix out the things that were slow or didn't work or didn't hit with the audience, and then build upon it and add in greatness to it, and then actually make a better product overall.
Not true.
You don't think that's possible?
Not true at all, because what Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, I don't know if we can. I mean, maybe we can do an episode on that, but still, I think that there's an argument there why the second one's better. And then you look at Thor in Thor Ragnarok if we were going to go and do 1 and 3. Obviously, you can't do that because 3 is just so much better. But that one he had 3 movies. It was his third one.
I agree. I just think that's a flawed argument to throw out there as your first, your first arrow that you're slinging.
Oh my God! One of the most important top 5 most important comic book movies of all time. Which, by the way, I think we should do an episode on that at some point down the line.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think we could do that. Again, this kind of comes into with like the Batman ideas that we've already seen the origin story. We already know the origin story, whether it's been played out in the animated series, in the comic books, and various other forms. We know the Uncle Ben thing.
Oh,
and as nice as it was to see it unfold on camera for the first time, going back and rewatching it, it's like, I don't need to see this. I'm just going to fast forward through that.
Dude, it's the first time, though. You have to do it the first time.
And it's like, while it's cool that he's developing his powers and he's figuring everything out, you get Spider-Man at his best when he's already in mid-peak in Spider-Man 2. He's web-slinging around. He's got a handle of everything. He knows left from right. He knows where it's going on, where the action's happening. He knows all the movers and shakers. He's up on it.
Get out of my face.
The guy lives in the streets.
Nope. That's...
I would say Spider-Man 2 is just a much better story overall. The idea of it's not just a superhero origin story where he's developing his powers and it's a high school kid trying to find his way. No, it's him trying to prioritize what's important to him in his life as a teenager, as you already mentioned. I think that's a topic that you don't really see expounded upon very much in comic book movies. This idea that he's toying with, that he doesn't really want to be the superhero, and you see through a portion of his time that he runs away from it despite, getting all those spider senses going off in his mind and everything. And he does, he becomes a really good student. You saw him kind of piece together his life, and he's starting to get some semblance of a normal life again, but he can't, go away from what his ultimate calling is, which is, his superheroism. And I think that's very interesting. And then again, you add in the layer of Dr. Octopus, who is, you talk about like top 5 and everything. I think it's probably a top 5 movie villain in Marvel history. And while I think Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is memorable, I think it's more for again, that campy, chewy, the scenery, over the top type way where Doc Ock and Alfred Molina's performance is really nuanced and layered, and it has a whole bunch of things on top of looking like a spitting image of what we've seen in the comics.
I think, bringing up both of those guys, because Willem Dafoe is part of my argument as well. And I think with both of those two, they are proof that you can go and I think you can take the risk on the superhero role because the action can kind of make up for it, and they're the good guy. People are going to perceive them a little bit more, I guess, to be more lenient with their perception. But with the villains, we talk about it so much, and I think that's a hashtag Dork Shared Gooniverse theme. The villains are so important to the success of these movies. You need to have the kick-ass actor in those roles, and I think Dafoe and Molina are both proof of that, because no matter what anybody says, they both did an outstanding job in their roles.
Yeah, it's just a different way to get to the end result. And right. I prefer Molina's role as, again, Willem Dafoe. You know what he's going to get. He's kind of like this over the top type of personality anyway.
Yeah, he is, and I think he handles it very well, because you go and see. Because one thing that I think Dafoe does so well in all this is he's handling 2 personalities once Osborne goes and takes the chemicals and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So we see him do that, but as time slowly goes along, and I didn't really recognize this as much as a kid, but you see him merge the 2 together where it just becomes Green Goblin. Norman Osborn and him are the same person. He says that at the end to Peter at the end. By the way, well, actually, I'm not even going to get into that. Sorry. He says that. I almost said it was a spoiler thing. It's been fucking 16 years. I'm such a jackass. So, but he says it to Peter at the end that, it's the Goblin. It's not me. I'm losing control. He's taking over, all that stuff. No. At that point, you are one and the same. And he did that so smoothly. And I don't think that's so easy. I think it can be clunky where he's trying to make that transition or try and keep them as, 2 separate things or whatever. I think he did an exceptional job of that. And I really appreciated that.
See, I think there's a lot of similarities between the Green Goblin and the, Dr. Octopus. There's, you get the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of comparative trope that you get out of a villain there, where you have this guys who are probably rooted in good and first, right? I think Willem Dafoe and Green Goblin were trying to reverse a sickness that he had, or maybe
he was trying to save his company.
The Amazing Spider-Man, but yeah, he was trying to save his company. Yeah, that's it. And Dr. Octopus was trying to save his wife, and you see them again. You mentioned like Willem Dafoe kind of smoothly doing that. I think that was very like a loud transition. Everything he did was kind of clunky in comparison to Alfred Molina, who again just is, you see him kind of having that sympathetic villain where you can understand his pain and his anger and his reasons for doing the things that he does.
Mm-hmm.
But he ends up just accepting and getting consumed by his ego, that he just fully embraces that merge, like you were saying, between the two different people, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, I think that is an important part of what Doc Ock does, is how how you can be sympathetic towards the character. I think it's something that was unique for the time, at least in the movies. Maybe not so much in the books, but I think that's fair point.
I would say still it's unique. I still think a lot of the superhero movies kind of struggle with that. You see, like more recently, over the last like maybe 5 or so, you start to see that a little bit more. Yeah, but it's tough.
Yeah, it seems like it's starting to happen more now. I know Killmonger's one, and then obviously people say, the Thanos thing, and Thanos.
Yeah, Thanos, Vulture, right? There's a couple of them there. Yeah.
Exactly. And when Willem Dafoe, at the end of it all, it's not his fault. I mean, he's just trying to save his company. Yeah, he's a tough ass, but it's still a little bit different. But I like him because it's so early on in the movie, in the comic book movie genre, that you need that character that really jumps out at you on the screen. And obviously, visually, the Green Goblin does that. But then in terms of his personality,
it's like a goddamn Power Ranger. Like that suit kind of sucks.
I mean, again, for the time, I'm fine with it. And that's, when they criticize the action for back in 2002, that action was awesome. I mean, I was a kid when I saw it, but even rewatching it now, it's like, yeah, okay, there are some things that aren't great, but for when it came out, I'm very happy with that.
Okay, so I think this is a good question for the argument then. Like, what's the most memorable scene when you think of Spider-Man, this is the moment. If you think of Spider-Man 2, this is the moment, and we'll kind of like go at them with those two.
Okay, when I think of Raimi's Spider-Man, I think there's one moment that we all think of. Okay, if it's not him dancing in the street like a jackass, which, by the way, just so the audience knows, Wes also likes Spider-Man 3. Just throwing that out there.
It's probably the best of all three. Like I really have no business arguing Spider-Man 2. My real stand-up lies in Spider-Man 3.
So,
in the interest of transparency.
So other than that moment, him dancing on the street like that, I'd say the moment we all think of is the upside down kiss. No,
for Spider-Man 1.
No, for Raimi's Spider-Man, period. No, the upside down kiss is number one.
No.
What is it?
No. That's not even the moment that I remember most from. I mean, I will accept that as like the most popular one when they think of like that movie individually. But my favorite moment from Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, is the wrestling scene with Macho Man Randy Savage when he's in like the homemade suit. Like that's what's most memorable to me. I think that's like the best action from it. But without question, like the best moment in the Spider-Man universe, possibly in like comic book lore, movie lore, is the scene on the subway where he's stopping the subway with his arms and he's got all the webs going up. His whole body's ripped to shreds. And they carry him like a Christ-like figure, through the back of the subway, and they take the mask off. And they're like, "Oh, he's just a kid. He could be my son's age." Mm-hmm. And they all protect him. They like the blue collar workers from New York. It's like, I got this guy. I'm gonna put down my meatball sub. Like that's such a heartfelt moment that I legit teared up in that moment.
So
that's when the community comes together for the little guy who's looking out for them.
Interesting that you bring that up because I feel like they did the same exact thing in Spider-Man 2002. Do you recall?
No, I do not.
Oh, interesting. So it was actually the moment where Green Goblin had captured Mary Jane after he figures out that Peter is Spider-Man. He captures her, and then he also threatens him with, he makes him decide between Mary Jane and the kids. He has to save one of them. He tries to save both, and as he's getting attacked, who protects Spider-Man in the course of it all? New Yorkers. And I believe we get the lines, what is it? You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York. And then another guy follows up by saying, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. So
yes, we're living in a
thing that you're citing. It's the same.
Yes, yeah, but you're going to tell me that that's not the most memorable scene from Spider-Man. It's not just the fact that he's the New Yorkers came to save him. It's that scene that he stopped a speeding train from going off the edge of a rail into the ocean with his bare feet. That's the scene.
That moment I recall, yes, that is absolutely one of the more memorable moments of Raimi's Spider-Man. But to go and add on that other stuff afterwards, I would say no. When you think of one image of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, okay, there are a few things that pop up. I think him learning how to shoot the web. I think that's one of the things that you recall.
Sure, on the rooftop, yeah.
Yeah, I think the dancing thing from Spider-Man 3 is something that comes to mind. Which you're citing, absolutely. But I think the number one thing in all of the Raimi verse, whatever the hell you want to call it, is that upside down kiss. I mean, if any of our listeners, I got to imagine that if you guys ever get a kiss from a girl upside down, or you kiss a girl who's lying down and she's upside down, whatever, I got to imagine you at some point have thought of that moment when you do that. Like, oh, it's like Spider-Man. I have.
I'm not denying that. And congrats on making out with a girl. But that's not the most memorable moment. You're okay there? You're good?
I'm trying to not laugh over you talking.
I don't even understand your thought process on this. Like, if we put this in a poll, you would get fucking murdered, Nick.
Okay, so we'll put it in a poll then. So we have the upside down kiss.
That you believe the shit that you're peddling.
I couldn't believe it more. I'm stunned.
Oh my God, that's wild.
I think yours is 3 at best. Most memorable moments. I think the moment from Spider-Man 3 could end up winning it all.
Absolutely. I don't know. Are you on drugs right? Like, where am I right now? You really believe that?
Wait. You're asking if I'm on drugs and you're questioning where you are?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on right. Maybe I am on drugs. I don't know. I'm usually more into it than that. I'm a little more locked in. But this is wild stuff here.
We'll put up a poll with those 3 options. The Spider-Man 3 option also being included.
I mean, if you want, I don't see what Spider-Man 3 would have to do with the argument anyway. I feel like that's just going to take away votes from one or the other of us. Like, why even present that?
We're trying to find the most memorable moments. I would say in the Raimi-verse. I think that would be.
Well, if you want to, I know you have 6 Twitter accounts. You're going to like them all from your account anyway. So it's cool. I get it. So whatever you want to do to rig the ballots, it's an election year. I know what's going on. We're 100 days away or so. Mail-in ballots, and nothing's going to get counted, right? Is this what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dork Universe is just a microcosm for the life that we live right now.
Okay, I'll make sure that we don't do it. We won't do all 3. We'll just do one. I'm making a note right now. We'll just do yours versus mine, just so we stick to the argument. All right. What else do we have in here? Well, I mean, honestly, when we talk about, so you have, I believe in your movie you have Dr. Connors, correct?
Yeah, a little bit, but not. But it's mostly Doc Ock. Yeah.
But we share J. Jonah Jameson. We share James Franco.
You get the best James Franco performance here, outside of Spider-Man 3, of course.
Who gets the best James Franco performance?
Spider-Man 2.
Really?
Yeah, between the first 2, yeah, I think so, because it's the whole idea that he knows that his best friend is likely responsible for the death of his father, and how is he reckoned with that? How does he come to deal with that? He knows his father was a jerk, and he knew, he protected Peter in so many ways, and then kind of like,
Did he find that out in the middle of 2 or towards the end of 2?
I thought it was kind of like in the early beginnings.
Okay, yeah. So okay. Yeah, I can't remember. I watched number 1 out of preparation for this, so I know my movie, like the back of my hand. I have all the notes. Just throwing that out there. I thought it's
not doing you any good.
Oh, I think it's done me. I think it's done me very well. One little thing, because basically what I was trying to say is when it comes to building the Spider-Man universe and including all these different little characters and everything, I think both movies kind of do that very well. And one little thing that I did want to note, though, in the course of it all, and I didn't realize until I was rewatching my Spider-Man movie, Elizabeth Banks is in both of these movies. Did you know that?
Yeah, yes, she is. Yeah, that's right.
She is J. Jonah Jameson's secretary.
Yeah, secretary. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was when I was watching, I'm like, wait a minute, that looks a lot like Elizabeth Banks. Looked it up on IMDb. Lo and behold,
sure.
I was going to use it as part of my argument that she's in my movie, but she's also in your movie too. You also have the actress who plays Bones too.
Oh, Bones.
Yes, so obviously that's a huge lift for Wes.
Right.
I mean,
I'll take that nod. That's
Could
good.
be why I lose this debate if I do lose it, which I probably won't. But anyways, so I brought up. I just like to cite that another part of my argument that we've already gone over was the learning his powers. Wes brought that up earlier. I think that set the tone for other movies that did that going forward, and I mean that's a template, and that's something important because you're not getting that in Blade. Blade's already well down the line in his vampire hunting career, and then obviously with the X-Men, it's Rogue's dealing with some shit, but it's more on the fly. Like we're invested in Peter Parker going through it, and I think it was a lot of fun too. That's the other thing because his powers are fun.
The X-Men don't really talk about like in the comic books. They don't go like individually. That came way down the road. I feel like the comic books kind of jumped into them with powers anyway, and then they delved into how they got them after.
For them, yes. But
it's kind of how the story goes with the X-Men.
But there are other ones where it's not the case, and you have Spider-Man to thank for the template that was set, and I think he does it best. I mean, you look at Shazam, where he's still doing that stuff now. Yeah, it's fun and it's modified for the time it came out. Was that 2018?
Yeah, you were completely discrediting the Batman '89. You're discrediting the Superman, so the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. So those don't mean anything.
I think that I think when we talk about these movies, the modern superhero movies, we don't necessarily cite those unless Goo's the one that's talking.
For the idea of an origin story movie, I think those were probably the template for it.
Maybe. I can't say I've watched the Christopher Reeves one in a long time. Did he go through the whole sequence of learning his powers?
Him, coming from Krypton down to getting shipped out from his whatever his father and stuff, get down to Kansas. Yeah, because there's a whole 9 yards there.
Okay, sure, fine, whatever.
Did I change that?
No, you didn't change my mind. No,
I think I did.
You're citing movies from the '80s, Wes, and '70s, and whatever. I mean, I'm talking about the modern stuff.
But you're saying that put the template down. It's not the template
for the modern ones. Yes, it did.
So what? You're just moving the goalposts now.
I'm not moving the goalposts. I'm sticking to my argument.
Yeah, it's all a semantics game. I know what you people do.
You people? What do you mean by you people?
I know what you're about in the media and manipulating words and all that stuff.
Okay, sure. Whatever you say. Your turn to make a point.
Well, see, I think I cited most of them, to be honest with you, so I might have ran a little too hot too quickly there. But I will go back to Dr. Octopus again for a moment. In relation to, I feel like this is a strong point, though, too. In relation to the Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe Osborne, not Harry Osborne, but Norman Osborne, thank you, is like they're both kind of see him as like a mentor to Peter, but it's not really earned through Norman Osborn. You just kind of know that he's like, I'm also something of a scientist. You get that like famous meme and everything. Mm-hmm. You get those kind of moments, and you know that he kind of wishes that Harry Osborn was more like Peter as far as like the studying. But you really see that relationship develop between himself and Alfred Molina in the second one, where that kind of apprenticeship takes forth, and you see again that that what you really have to reckon with from both Peter's perspective and Dr. Octavius's perspective of battling one another because they both know who each other are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is an interesting point. What's funny?
So it's actually like eerily similar between the crossover, at least between the interactions between the villain and Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Right.
How eerily these two movies actually are, and in my estimation, I feel like Spider-Man just does it's more of an enhanced job of that. Okay.
Just as a quick aside in all this, it's wild how going back and watching it, like with the Amazing Spider-Man universe with Garfield and everything, the Harry Osborn we got there, he is a whack job, totally emo and like just angry for no reason at all. And I get it, issues with dad. But fine. I didn't like that Osborn that much because I thought that James Franco's was not as much of a dink, but I guess I'll just go that route. Upon rewatch, yeah, he's much more of an asshole than I remember. I mean, he's much more of a weasel and pathetic than I remember. Harry Osborn, not great, not a great like he's a good character in terms of the role that he plays, but not a good person, I guess I would say. And all.
Yeah, and I'll also like just throw in there that you haven't gotten another Dr. Octopus yet, in all the different iterations of Spider-Man, with the exclusion of like Into the Spider-Verse, which I think is kind of in its own offshoot, in its own category of things in some respects. But, I think there's a reason for that. So, Green Goblin is such an iconic character, but Dr. Octopus really is as well. He's like one of those, main folk Spider-Man. And he did such a good job with it. Everyone has kind of left it alone. I think he's probably the best one-off villain in comic book history.
That sounds like another episode idea.
Because the Joker's been done a couple of times, Green Goblin, Magneto, exactly, right? So like those would be off the table, but as like a one-off villain, I think Alfred Molina's Dr. Ock might be the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean he's definitely
a top of short list.
Yes, definitely a top of short list for sure. My last thing, we kind of got to it with the moments that you brought up in the course of all this, but I think that with this, we have quite a few. Now, you brought up the whole fight with Macho Man Randy Savage, of course, trying to get the pop culture pile driver vote in the course of all this. I think that's a little bit of a weak move, but whatever, cool.
That's great. That's a good thing for you. I like that.
I don't think it's no, but you're trying to say it's the best moment in the movie, and there's no way.
It's great.
It's great, but it's definitely not the best moment in this movie. It's definitely a memorable one, but I think what I think is also really impressive. We're talking about a movie from 2002, right? So the CGI is not on the level that we're dealing with today. Not even what you were dealing with 6 years later when the first right and then more, but even more so, we have that moment in the cafeteria, right, where Mary Jane falls, Peter catches her, and he actually caught all of that shit. I forget how many takes it took. That is outstanding. Knowing all that now.
Hold on. Is that true? Do you have a source on this?
Yeah, that's been out there. It's been out there for a couple of years now.
He really caught all those things on the cafeteria.
I think it took over 100 takes, Wes, or maybe it was 50 something.
No way! I gotta Google this. That is. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just think that's like such an unbelievable thing. I have to search that myself.
Well, there you go. Okay, but
I got a little homework to do. That's crazy if that's true.
Right. So there's that. There's the upside down kiss. There's honestly for me the first time hearing live action Mary Jane call Peter Parker Tiger gave me some goosebumps. That's the cartoon right there.
And that's right at the end, right when he's like hopping out the window.
It's towards the end of the movie for sure. I think it was at night. It was at night when she was going to dinner with James Franco. And she said she invited him, and he said no. And she says, "I'm gonna catch you later, Tiger," or something to that effect.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there were two moments where, like, again, it's just like, wow, we're like reliving this again. When Peter comes home and tells Aunt May that Uncle Ben's dead, that gave me chills. And then, actually, this was not reliving the moment. This is watching it as an adult. This hit me differently. How crushed Mary Jane was when Peter was like, I can't give you any more. Now, I don't think that Maguire necessarily acted that out all that well, but Kirsten Dunst, I thought she did an exceptional job in that moment. I really felt her pain there, so I was impressed by that. But these are all.
She was an MTV Movie Award winner, Kirsten Dunst.
I feel like you're almost trying to bring that up as a knock in some way.
I love the MTV Movie Awards. I'm not saying anything bad about it. It's great. It's a great piece of content. I want to circle back to the cafeteria thing because you are a big fan of. Or not a big fan, I should say, of things that are cringy and like those awkward moments. And I feel like so much of those high school scenes with Tobey Maguire and a lot of his early interactions with Kirsten Dunst are exactly that, those cringy type of moments. And I'm curious to get your thoughts if you thought those were cringy as well, and if that kind of like made things a little bit more difficult for you in this process.
For me, yes, it does make those moments like tough because I gotta stop.
I thought they were cringy, and I can handle that probably better than you can.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%. You handle it way better than I do. But the thing is, though, Wes, we're talking about Peter Parker. He is socially awkward, and until he becomes Spider-Man, he doesn't really have that way to kind of grow and blossom as an adult. He's just a nerd without social skills.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
which I think they do a better job in this movie than the other two reiterations with Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield. Right? He's really more of like an awkward guy, not like necessarily. Even though they're all very older, I think he's not necessarily as like handsome, classic good looks as Andrew Garfield, or definitely not Tom Holland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both of those guys just are kind of like the cool guys. Like even in like the MCU Spider-Man, like it's this weird, different Spider-Man that's like funded by Tony Stark, so he doesn't have to worry about going to buy a car or going to that wrestling match to try and impress a girl or or living in a crappy apartment and stuff. You know, like that's the cool thing that you see in both of these movies that doesn't really get touched on in the other two as much. The other two installments that you see that he's actually poor, because that's the case.
The way that this character is written, I think, and Maguire's portrayal too, to some extent, because I can understand why people would say Holland's maybe a better actor. I think, or the best actor of the three. I think that Tom Holland does the best combination of the two characters, I would say, of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I think when you look at Tobey Maguire, he is the best Peter Parker, period. I think that Garfield does a better Spider-Man than Maguire does, but his Peter Parker is not good. He's way too cocky, way too arrogant.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's cool. He's a skateboarding dude who he's not intimidated by anybody.
Exactly. I really do like how he acts when the suit comes on.
Yeah, that's a good take. I like that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, maybe we'll do that discussion a little bit more and expound upon it down the line. But one last thing. This is not really an argument, but I just wanted to make sure that actually these two things get brought up. Rosemary Harris is #my Aunt May. She's not the most attractive Aunt May, obviously.
She's your aunt, but she's like 90 years old. Like,
that is the Aunt May we all know, dude. That's the Aunt May we grew up with.
Yeah, I get, but just logistically, that doesn't make sense.
Why?
I think probably the better, because just how old are his parents? Is that his great Aunt May?
Could be.
You know, yeah, maybe.
Do you call your great aunt Sally?
No, I wouldn't. But I guess that's kind of a cheap runaround to that. I think probably Sally Fields is probably the best aged, best version. Although I think anybody would be remiss to say anyone other than Marissa Tomei. But I think for age wise. And look, she's probably in that sweet spot of where you wanted an Aunt May to be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, Marissa Tomei is the most attractive one of them all because she's young at the time. The other thing, though, and I know you're going to appreciate this, and I can't speak to Spider-Man 2 because, again, I did not rewatch that for this. I just watched my movie. J. Jonah Jameson, obviously, he's outstanding, but there were just some moments now as two guys who've, been in the journalism game for a little while, seeing how he handles himself, and obviously the Daily Bugle's a tabloid under him. I forget if it's I think in the comics it's similar, but anyways, he's going shitting on Peter's photos, right? He comes in and these are like movie theater poster quality pictures that crap, and but then he goes and gives him $200 for all those. Now, obviously, Peter probably would have been better off holding some and then providing more, another day so then he can get more money. But if he's getting $200, actually ends up getting $300 because he threatens to walk out. If you get $300 a day on a freelance photo gig, being Spider-Man, that's not a bad deal at all.
No, that's a really good gig. It's just, if it's freelance, is it every day? Of course, it's probably just every time that Spider-Man's in the news, right? Mm-hmm. But he would have a stranglehold on that market, real monopoly on that market as a photographer. $200 a day. You think he might be able to get more because the Daily Bugle is essentially what the New York Daily News or the New York Post, right? So that's a big paper, and to get the front or the back page on, if you're in the sports world, the back page is huge, right? But to get the front page of that, they have to have huge amounts of advertising dollars. Just like if you've ever seen the movie Nightcrawler. Gyllenhaal, which is a great look into broadcast media. I think that's a very, very interesting movie. If you want to look at how things are kind of operate there, I think that's stretch of the truth, but I think there's some truth in it. Mm-hmm. But they throw out big money to these freelance video guys to go out and film accidents and fires and that sort of thing. And I know the Standard Times would do that too. There was one of the editors had a guy kind of on retainer pretty much.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. But that movie that was I already liked Gyllenhaal as it was when that movie came out, but that's where he won me over completely. Prisoners, and he obviously he's been in a bunch of other stuff, but that was really well done. But the other thing too with J. Jonah Jameson, last thing, when Goblin comes in and threatens him and tries to find out who's the photographer, why is Peter not getting a photo credit on those pictures?
Right,
whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's like, who is it? J. Jonah Jameson doesn't even hesitate. He's like, I don't know who it is. He sends his stuff through the mail. Does not sell out his guy. as much as J. Jonah Jameson is a dink in a lot of ways because how he tries to, slander, libel Spider-Man, he goes and has his even his freelance guys back. I respect that.
Well, yeah, you got to protect your sources. That's journalism rule number 2 after, what's rule number 1 here? Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. There we go.
Yes.
That's it. Yes. My journalism professors would be so disappointed in me right now.
What are you talking about? It's the number 1 rule, and you taught me it too.
I almost forgot it, though. Almost forgot it.
Oh, that's why. Yes. Well, yeah. Hey, I'm glad you reminded me of that. I didn't learn that at journalism school either, so that clearly my money not well spent.
Yeah, exactly. That pristine Big Ten education. What is it getting you?
Nothing. Yeah. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I hear you.
Anyways, Wes.
I think that's it. I think we wrapped it up. So I think what we should do here is put out 2 polls. One, who won the argument, right? I think that's what we need to find out first and foremost. And then 2, we'll do the offshoot of which memorable moment best defines the Raimi Spider-Man.
Yes, we'll put that one out a little bit later in the week. Let everybody have the day to vote on who won the argument, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
So for those, decide. Yeah, exactly. And what we'll do when it comes to, I don't know if you can do polls on Facebook. We'll try and figure out a way to decide the poll on Facebook. But of course, on Twitter at Change My Mind Pod, it will be available there for everybody. So quick and easy if you have that. And I will not cheat like Wes tries to imply that I will.
I was going to say, and when you say figure out a way to get a Facebook Live poll, you mean figure out a way to rig a Facebook Live poll. I got you. I just want to make sure the people heard you. Like you say things, but do they really hear you?
I wonder that a lot. Got to be honest, it's tough. But what else has been going on with you, Wes, heading into the episode?
Yeah, golf update, weekly golf update. I'm back on the course after playing. Taking some time off a couple weeks ago. I played a nice round of Seconded the previous week, and this week I had a little bit of a troubling round at Falmouth Country Club. I will like to note that swamp ass is a very real thing, and that baby powder and or cornstarch should be carried on you at the golf course. Anytime you're out there, I think you should just strengthen numbers and baby powder. Those are the 2 things that you should always remember when you're on the golf course.
Okay.
But what I will say is that, and this might be I may be outing myself as maybe not lacking some machismo in this statement, if you will. But we got grouped up with an older set of guys who played regularly. We played from the blues, the tips, if you will. Now, I usually play from the whites, not very long off the tee. I'm not paying to kill myself for 4 hours on the course. So I want to have something where I actually may be able to enjoy myself a little bit. But we played from the tips reluctantly, and it was played all right. But, it's tough when you add on the extra 1,000 yards or whatever it is in the total yardage over the course of 18 holes. Like those strokes add up every once in a while. So it gets It's frustrating. I had a lot of trees too. That was tough for me. Caught a lot of branches.
But it was a big bounce back for you? Because I remember last time you updated us, you struggled.
No, so last week when I updated you, I played well. I beat my friends. I played very well, as a matter of fact. So this last week, it was back more to where I would play normally.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just with the added strokes from playing from the tips.
Right. Oh well, yeah. That's a big difference maker. So that's
yeah. So it's tough. Like golf is a hard enough game as it is. Like, do I really want to punish myself even further? Like, that's kind of my mindset on it.
Mm-hmm. And you can't go and tell them like, hey, I'd rather play from the whites because
No, I'm the only guy. Like, I walk up there. Like, I have 20 minutes before my round starts. I want to take my morning shit because we're playing like morning rounds, and my whole morning process is all disrupted. So I get there with time, like 20 minutes before the tee time, to like get ready, warm up, take a shit, unwind and everything, get the sleep out of my eyes, so to speak. My buddy's already there, and he's like, we can get out 20 minutes early. We can play with these guys. And I'm like, he's already up at the tee box by the time I get out of the bathroom. We're already moving. I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Oh, jeez. That's brutal.
He put me in a rough spot. Like, how can I say be the one guy to be like, yeah, actually, I don't want to play from the tips.
Yeah, especially with those calves.
Right. Well, yeah. You're trying to work that in there any way you can, huh? I have a feeling throughout this whole time while I was speaking that you were trying to devise a way to insert your crappy calves jokes into the conversation. Is that true? True or false?
That is erroneous on all accounts. That is bullshit. I was just trying to compliment you. You know what? I'm not even going to validate with an answer any further. But I will say that we may need to figure out a way to have a bovine rating system going forward, because everybody else in the hashtag Dork Shared Gooniverse has a stupid rating system. So why not jump in on that? You know what I mean? Hot dogs and score out of 11, and then Infinity Stones, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So we got to figure out a way to do. We got to figure out something, I think.
2.5 calves.
Yeah. But we just got to figure out what our max calf is. What's a full cow, steer, bull?
Yeah.
You know.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, got to figure that out. But anyways, all the rating systems aside, and your golf aside, I brought up Todd McFarlane earlier.
Yeah.
Sci-Fi did a documentary special on him that came out on Saturday, and I wish I had known going into last episode to let everybody know. But I did not watch it live. I recorded it. I've watched the first few minutes of it, and I fully intend on finishing it because I love McFarlane. I think as much as he can be a bit much for some people at times, and that's partially because of his energy, I do think that the guy is kind of inspirational in a lot of ways. And I love anything to do with him. Like I want to, like anything talking about his career, I want to hear it. I want to watch it, whatever it is. And the first 10 minutes, yeah, it's a little bit of a retread for me, but this is like, I think it was 2 hours on Sci-Fi, which probably means it's like an hour, 15 minutes. You know, if you take out commercial and stuff, we'll see. I don't know, but either way, I'm very excited to watch this. And anybody who likes Spawn or the toys, that's your guy. So
I like it. That's good. And I do want to circle back real quick. We mentioned you on the news dump last week, and you did represent my current family living situation pretty well.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah, it's been sleeping on the couch, a lot, but my neck, the neck is bothersome a little bit, but I got some Bengay that I've been working with. But I did want to know that you probably felt some of the wrath that I've been feeling from my lovely wife, because she took she had some issues with some of the words that you were saying about Kim Kardashian, specifically you, but also to the Mac and Goop podcast, Mac.
Yeah, there were some tears shed for sure, and that's why I tried to carefully note that I would not use such harmful language that Julia decided to use when addressing me on this matter. So Wes, thoughts and prayers to you. If you need help, by all means, just let me know. I probably know some people that can help you out. But
I'll wear a yellow shirt now on next week's episode if I need help. How's that?
Okay,
just like Brittany.
Just don't. Oh God, I hope Julie doesn't see this. I'm scared for you now, man. Be safe. Okay.
I might not even see next week. Who knows?
Shit. Okay.
But yeah, so I thought you represented her pretty well. I do think, you guys were shitting on Sir Kanye West a little too much for someone who is self-described and diagnosed as bipolar. I mean, we know that. Should we be mocking mental health on a platform like that, or should we be asking of ways of how we can help? Whatever. If that's the route that you want to take in life, then by all means, don't let me stop you. But I just think that we should have maybe more open discourse when it comes to mental health. That's all I'm going to say.
Hashtag what would Jesus do?
What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that?
Oh my God. Is that a thing, or did you just make that up?
Jesus was the name of one of his albums. He has Yeezy shoes.
I know Yeezy, but I know the Yeezus I'd never heard before.
Oh yeah. That album came out like 10 years ago or something.
I don't listen to Kanye.
Yeah, you got to take off those cowboy boots, son.
I'm all set. There are plenty of other good hip hop artists out there who don't think who don't define themselves as the voice of a generation.
Yeah, I don't know why you get hung up as that as like the one. Like, I've heard you use that now like 2 different times on
yeah, there. That's the 3rd time. And guess what? Anytime I talk about Kanye West, you will continue to hear me say that.
So he is someone who is self-described as braggadocious as well. Like that's part of his whole shtick. Like that's part of. So when like you don't like Ricky Henderson for saying that he's the greatest player of all time.
Ricky loved Ricky. I've heard that from people who played with him.
Yeah,
it's fine. But Wes, here's my thing. Okay,
you didn't like Prime Time? You didn't like Terrell Owens?
You go and I love T.O. But you go and when I'm going and talking shit right on Twitter about this episode, what was your response?
What? I'm sorry. What's the question?
To me talking shit about this episode, right? Saying I was going to bury you when talking about these two movies.
Yeah.
What was your response?
Oh, confidence will be your downfall.
I thought it was but there was a specific tweet that you put out with a specific president
on Twitter. Oh, Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes, and what was the saying that he used to use a lot that you care about?
Speak softly and carry a big stick. But what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander. I think God said that. So you can jot that down.
Hey, what other entertainment podcasts are you going to get? History lessons like that. I mean, you're learning about Gandhi quotes out there. I had no idea that he was one that said that.
We're giving out facts in journalism 101. We're giving out quotes from historical presidents and historical figures. Mm-hmm. And we're just slanging Spider-Man topics left and right. I think this is a one-stop shop for all your entertainment needs.
But I'm sure when you guys listen to us, and we're usually over an hour, but it's just not enough to get you through the week, especially during these pandemic times where there's only so much new stuff to watch as much as sports are coming back, which is great. Wes, there's a lot going on in the hashtag Dork Shared Gooniverse this week. Do you have any idea what's going on with hashtag Dork specifically?
Hashtag Dork, no, not familiar. I should have brushed up on this before. I wish you give me the answer. Is it Comic-Con? Is that what it is?
Yes. He's saying he doesn't know. Yes. They're talking about Comic-Con, so he has. How you knew that? What are you playing games for? So they're talking about Comic-Con. Obviously, Mac and Goo has talked about it a little bit as well, but I'm sure hashtag Dork. What's their nickname? Is it the Bad Boys?
The Bad Boys of Comic-Con.
Yes. Comic-Con. That's right. Yes. So I'm sure they'll have a lot of
eyebrows when you say it in order for your voice to go up.
Comic-Con. Yes. Very, very good point. Mac and Goo, they did. So last week I told you guys they were doing their Mac and Gooby Vault Aliens. They streamed that last week, but if you didn't watch it and you're more of an audio person, that's coming out this week because last week they did their child actors, which I'm sure you guys all know by now because Goo, as we mentioned earlier in the show, had a kid. Congrats again on the sex, Goo.
I want to throw something on Mac and Goo real quick because now what threw me off is I just got a podcast notification that Comic-Con at Home News Dump is now available from Mac and Goo at the movies.
They did too.
They did. So now I just want some consistency out of them. Fridays is when the news dump comes, right? It's always on Fridays. That's the annual news dump. That's the play that they're playing off of, the Friday news dump, right? Give me that on Friday. I want content on Tuesday. Tuesdays are Goose days. News dumps are for Fridays. Now my whole world is thrown off now. I don't know what day is what.
Yeah, well this episode's coming out on Thursday, so this is going to rattle your cage even more, the Aliens episode.
What are we doing?
PCP, who comes out early in the week where everybody else comes out on Tuesday and streams on Sunday or Wednesday usually. PCP will have their live stream, I believe, Tuesday night, and then their audio episode comes out on Wednesday. This week, Wes, they're talking about their favorite athletes from their childhood, but that's also our childhood, more or less, too. Rossi's pretty freaking old, but...
is he? Yeah, he looks well for his age, then, if that's the case. What are some... off the top of your head, favorite athlete? I think everyone's like Ken Griffey Jr., right? I feel like that's like the first one that kind of comes to mind.
I mean, if we're talking Boston, it's Ken Griffey. I mean, obviously Ken Griffey Jr. is anybody, but then Nomar, Pedro, Paul Pierce. Right. I mean, we were kids when Tom Brady started. Well, actually, you were in high school, right?
7th or 8th grade. Yeah.
Okay, so we were kids at that time. I liked Dikembe Mutombo. I still like Antoine. Yeah.
I was a big Scottie Pippen fan. I had the black pinstripe Scottie Pippen jersey.
Ooh,
always liked the number 2. Like it wasn't a big like. I love Jordan and everything, and obviously like I just started watching The Last Dance. I didn't watch a lick of it when it came out on ESPN.
Really?
And I just like avoided. Just didn't want to watch it for whatever reason. And now that it's on Netflix, like I loved it. Like I feel weird that I missed out on it with everyone, but it's nice to be able to watch it like in succession and just kind of binge everything. But I was obviously a big Jordan fan, but always loved Pippen, Reggie Miller. Miller, I love Reggie Miller. Love a good sharpshooter.
That is a good one too. Tom Glavine was a guy I liked a lot too. Obviously, Greg Maddux, have a ton of respect for him.
Cal Ripken, big Cal Ripken fan.
Yeah, Cal Ripken. I'm more of a Kevin Costner guy personally, but
over.
Speaking of players we hate, though, if Joey Randa could not stand. Go look up Joe. What?
I thought you were going to go right into Shime.
No.
Speaking of players we hate, Shime is twitching tonight at 7, folks. That's where you're
Yes, he's starting moments after this podcast ends. If you're watching us on the YouTube live stream, where you can always watch us too. If you prefer listening to us, of course, you can find us on all the different spaces, including Geeks Worldwide Radio. But yeah, I was going to say Joe Randa, can't stand him, and Phil Nevin. Also can't stand him either. But yes, and keep your eyes peeled for Stream Team 2. They're much like TLDR, they are just they are a stream only show on Shime's Twitch stream, I believe, and then on the Facebook page as well. So there are different times of the week, but Shime and Dave, you're always tweeting about when that's going to go live as well.
Yes, that's good stuff there. I think we got a lot accomplished today. I feel good.
I do too. I feel like I won a debate. Probably going to win 2 polls out of this.
Well, you know, my issue is we haven't done one of these debate style things in a while here. It gets me all riled up. I get a little bit of anger, I get a little bit of blood boiling in me here. So I feel like I came out a little bit hot. I had to turn down at the end of it. So it's nothing personal. I just can't. Once I get so hot, I can't control it. Yeah.
You finished early, and that's very normal most men. I understand. Yeah. Yes. Whereas I'm thankful that you can just see the top of my chest on the stream right now because I have 2 hard nips, as you like to add all the time, the entire episode.
Yeah, well, I'm actually standing right next to an air conditioner, so literally 2 hard nips right now, whether I liked it or not. That's just kind of an unfortunate concept.
TBD for next week, or do you want to go with one of the ideas that we've brought up a few times that I've mentioned to you off air a couple times?
You're going to have to remind me of that. Can you remind me?
The one that's kind of based in fantasy without telling people?
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah, that'll be fun.
So next week's episode, we're going to do another debate. We're going away from the original sequels. Obviously, we don't want to burn that out right away and get all excited like Tommy Boy or Chris Farley as Tommy Boy.
Sure.
We're going to do Lord of the Rings versus Harry Potter. It's an age-old debate. It's been going on for years. I will be taking the side of Lord of the Rings. Wes will be taking the side of Harry Potter.
Of course, the winning side. That'll be fun.
Again, I highly doubt that. But you may be the favorite going into this, but I will not lose because it's all about the debate. But yeah, until next week then, Wes.
Yeah, same bad time, same bad place, baby.